and you spread up against a car with somebody patting you down who doesn't look like you. That's what your kids see. And you've got to change what I see kids coming to school at 3 years old. If you give them a stick, they're not singing a song. They don't play any instruments anymore. They don't know any songs much. They may know a few hymns that their mother and father, they don't even go to Sunday school too much. We learned to read often in church before we got to school. We would learn to read at home. But suppose you don't speak English. You're going to tell that parent to teach that kid? No. The public schools educate 98% of all the children in the United States. We've got to make sure that public schools, which is the basis of democracy, is well funded, have a voice. Your daily, ongoing, monthly, yearly participation, because the school committee was good when it had parents on it. John D. O'Brien, that high school's named after. Yes, he was going to run for mayor. When they took it away, it broke his heart. It literally broke his heart. And so many black men's hearts just go on in their 50s and 60s because of the stress they're under. And then we're left as women with no men. Get real with the program. Forget all those little private cul-de-sacs and little byways and alleys. Stay on the main highway. Stay on the main highway and get what takes you into Spelman and Lincoln University and Wilberforce and Howard and Hampton. Yes, and University of New Hampshire if you want hotel studies and oceanography and aviation. I want to see our kids everywhere. I don't see them everywhere. It was so wonderful to see them in the cultural area. One of them was my student. You got to be everywhere, and you won't be everywhere if the first thing you do, you look when you want to move to a town, look and see what they spend per person, per dollar for libraries every year. And then you'll know what kind of town it is, because that's the first key indicator of the school system, because you can't do good education if you don't have resources. If Bobby had what he had, his budget would be, if I would say quadrupled, am I right? Quadrupled, and that is beginning to match. How many languages do you have in your school, Bobby? Yes, he does. Don't, get up, come on.
We're going to allow...
How many languages? How many languages you have in your school?
5 plus Ebonics.
You have children come from the far reaches of the world. There are 48 or 52 languages in Boston, about the same in Cambridge and Brookline. We educate the world here, so that costs money because you got to educate every child in every subject in their language of nurture while you're teaching them English. That costs money. And if you can't hear, if you don't see well, if you've got physical or emotional problems, you still have a right to an education. If you shoot somebody, you got a right to an education, but not right now. You better sleep at the wheel. Your kid can get kicked out at 8 years old for having a knife and never get back into school without you fighting for it. You need to watch the State Board of Education. I didn't even go into that zoo. You need to go to a State Board of Education, get on the Orange Line and ride to Malden and watch what happens. Who is the president? Who is the president of the State Board of Education? Yes, what's he like? Anybody here know? No, does anybody here know who he is? You need to know that the man who's the head of the Pioneer Institute, a right-wing think tank, I mean right-wing, flat earth, off the edge of the earth. He is in charge of making decisions. They even kicked Silver out. He's going to run with you, even though I don't agree with him on 90% of the time, but he did want people educated. Even though he didn't know how to do it, he didn't respect us. But he did respect in education. You need to see what's coming down the line for you, because when you test people with high-stakes testing that doesn't get preceded by the curriculum, guess what gets cut out of the pipeline? The lawyers, the doctors, the business people, the judges. They're gone. 3 generations from now, if the way things are going now, private schools, they ain't enough of them to educate 1/10 of our kids, so just forget that. I've done that. And then when your kids get out of private school, they got to come back into the real world.
That's right.
Okay? And guess what? Every school you go to is going to send you a letter. Please donate. So why don't you donate through your taxes? It's cheaper. You get more bang for your buck. I don't send any money to Shady Hill and all those other schools that my daughter went to, and they didn't give enough scholarships. She came back to Dorchester High, and she finally got herself a scholarship somewhere because she was too used to a school with 160 kids. But I'll tell you one thing, if you go and shop for a school like you shop for a man or a woman or a car, you will learn what you need to know to go and see where is the orchestra, where is the shop. Good high schools have cooking. All right? We don't have that anymore. You need to ask some questions about what you want your children to know, to say nothing of all the classical subjects, which I tell kids to, yeah, take Latin. Latin people were taught by the Africans. Yeah, you take Latin, you take anything. You take Swahili, you take Greek. You got all these earphones and technology, damn it, use it. Don't tell me that's what white folks do. You got to get your kids into a different mindset so these people, when they come into the room, they can teach them. Because if you get in the classroom, you adopt a school, and you go in there every day, you will begin to see who are good and bad teachers, and you will know what it means to have the right resources to get rid of bad teachers and to help sustain new good teachers before they get discouraged. It takes a lot of support to learn the art and science of teaching. I loved it. I spent half my paycheck on my kids, but that ain't the way to go. I've seen too much, and I know it's your tax dollars spent wisely and well with the voice of parents on the school committee like they have out there around here, who come in here and get 75% of all jobs over $25,000 go to people who don't live in the city. And you pay for it. Think about it. Okay. I saw some people in the audience that had their hands up. We have some comments from the audience, questions. Back here, right here.
My name is Tito Jackson.
Oh, Tito.
Not that Tito Jackson.
Right, wrong Jackson. I know.
I attended Brookline High School.
Yes, you did.
In the medical program. And actually, I just graduated
From UNH. That's right. Were you present in the class?
What was that?
Were you present in the
I was
class?
supervisor, yes.
Okay.
And I sit here in this category not because I want to sit here, but I sit here as a challenge to cross the aisle. And I see it as a challenge for me, and as well as everybody else in this category, for us to act, to make the Boston Public Schools a place where we want to send.
Yes. Take them over.
At the University of New Hampshire, we had 73 black students out of 10,500. And this year, we took over the president's office.
He sure did.
And we had to train a lot of our white friends because we didn't have enough. But in doing so, we blasted open the doors of the University of New Hampshire for black students to come in the future. And I would like to see kids from the Boston Public Schools be qualified to go there. Because I've gone to many Boston Public Schools as well as back to Brookline High School where I went to school. And a lot of the kids aren't even qualified to get into the University of New Hampshire. And I look back at where I went to school. I just went back to Brookline High School. They just did a $44 million addition to the school. Most of it is aesthetics. They pulled the front of the building out and made a new clock tower and a solarium and all those things. And I would like to see, and actually, in fact, Brookline spends less per pupil than Boston does per pupil. And in being in the medical program, I feel as if since I've gotten the opportunity to go out to Brookline and get that good education or whatever, it's my responsibility to come back and help. So I guess the question and comment I have is how do we gain that interface that you're speaking about to politically, economically, and socially empower ourselves in order to make the changes that you're speaking about?
Tito, first, let me just say some congratulations on the UNH piece. But there are a couple of your classmates that were in UNH. One of them just recently graduated. There's a couple of them that are still there that were former students of John D. O'Brien and Boston Tech that was at UNH. And right now, you presently have a youngster that just got out of there with his master's degree from Dorchester High School. And Roger Beatty and myself are still working with a couple of my kids that are coming from Dorchester High School up to UNH. And we've worked on some stuff with Roger so that the requirements for admission have been somewhat changed. And my curriculum has been changed because we're gearing our kids. Because this year I got kids that are in line for Harvard, Lesley, Regis, Simmons, and one possibility is MIT. That's Dorchester High School. For the people that are sitting over here to my left, one of the questions that I had, it would be, why do you feel as though you shouldn't go to the Boston Public Schools? And I would suspect a lot of it is you're going to say the curriculum and the safety issues that seem to be happening at the school. But I think in order for you to cross the line, before you get involved in anything, you first need to know what it is you're getting into. You know, how many of you folks over here just live in Dorchester or Roxbury? Okay, mostly all of you. How many of you have ever been to Dorchester High School? Okay, recently? Okay. have you seen any changes take place at the school?
Yes.
Okay, well, changes are taking place in almost all of the schools, but until we see people like you that are straddling the line and looking for a reason to come over, I need your help, because if I have parents of kids that are presently there that won't come over, and then I have parents or potential parents that are sitting there saying, well, I'm not going to come over because of this or because of that, you really need to come and get involved. And if you bring expertise, like when you were in the METCO program, I used to sit in that auditorium in Brookline. I got sick of hearing Janet Morris call your name up there for all those awards. Okay, so I know what you did up in Brookline. But I'm just saying, take some of what you had in Brookline, bring it back, because we got a lot of youngsters out there that don't even know that there is a UNH, or they know that it's there, but they don't know how you got there. So if you folks were somewhat successful with your colleges and your high school years, you're the ones that they need to be coming back to, because I graduated from high school in 1967. I just turned 50. I'm ancient, I'm a dinosaur, I'm out of touch. They won't hear it, okay? But you guys, leave me alone, Gene. You guys are in a position to where you can come up and you can show people what it's like, because you're still young enough for them to relate to, and you can tell them the difference between right and wrong, and you can tell them what they should be looking for in terms of an education and what they need to do to be getting it. Because, I mean, Charmaine was one of my students. Sarita was one of my students. Rudy back there is another one of my students. He's a teacher. Sarita's a teacher. There's a math teacher. And when I came in here this morning, at least 15 people. Miss Walker sitting right there. She's coming back to Dorchester High School as an intern in the fall, along with 14 other people, because I have additional 30 some odd people coming into the classroom to reduce class sizes so that we can deal with some of the issues that you folks are asking for. So when people are saying, why should I come to Dorchester, or why should I come to any of the schools? Why not? Check us out before you tell us, you know, you heard this or you heard that. Check it out and then be involved with it, and then maybe we can work together to make it better. Because those kids will be coming back from our schools and from wherever else they're going to marry, like Jean said, to marry your sons and to marry your daughters. And when you approach senior citizen age, like I'm about to be in the next 10 years, they're going to be taking care of you like they're going to be taking care of me. We need to help each other now.
I'd like Tito to stand up and come into the middle, because you got to make that step.
Cross over, Tito. Cross over, my brother.
Cross over.
Anybody else that wants to make that move right now?
Is there anyone else? Yes, please.
Would like to make that move.
Would you like to cross over and join us?
That's called power.
Keep on.
That's taking the first initial step. I took the first initial step when they closed the door to my child, or me entering the door with my child at the John P. Holland School, when I brought her the first day of school. They said, leave her here, you can't come in. I left with her, because the power is about taking it in your hands and working collectively to make the change happen, not just for your child, but for every child, because it takes all of us to do the right thing. So those on this side, you gotta find a way to help make the school satisfy the needs of your children. Those on this side, you got to engage at some point to help collectively education be the best thing for the children in the city of Boston. And those in the middle, the struggle doesn't stop. It continues to go on, and it's a regular fight, because you have to not only be accountable for what happens, you have to hold other people accountable for what happens. And so it's going to take all of us in that room to make that happen.
Right here, sister. Very good. Right here, this gentleman.
My name is Jason Upshaw, and I graduated from Cambridge Public Schools. And
That's all right.
I went to Maryland School, elementary school. $600 million. If you go out into the suburbs, and you see where all those dollars are funneled. The dollars are funneled specifically into what's going to help that child. What's going to help that child? They don't put it into the basketball courts. They don't put it into all the video games. They don't put it into these other things that distract us from what really is, from what's really going to educate us. So I am here listening to the middle because I know that I'm going to be working hard to make sure that the children that I bring in this world are going to be able to take advantage of the opportunity, the exposure. I definitely think I'm somebody that's a well-rounded individual. I want my children to be well-rounded, have the exposure of all the cultures, and so that when they go to France, they go to LA, they go to places I've been to. I plan on going to Haiti. I want them to be able to relate to them, to be able to understand those people. And I don't think that you can get that in a small private school, or you can get that in a Catholic school. The exposure, you can't. That's almost priceless. It's something that you can't. Right. So I think everyone should be here.
Over here, this sister right here.
Well, my name is Consuelo, but I didn't sit over here because I didn't think there was hope. I sat over here because currently I'm dissatisfied.
Okay.
I'm very involved in my school. And I feel that I stay here until I feel there's more of a change. And I am playing an active role. I'm going back to college so that I can be a teacher in the classroom.
Excellent.
But at the same time, my son's 7 years old now. What am I supposed to do now with the current system the way it is? And yes, I work with the principal. I'm on the executive committee, on the parent council, and all this other stuff. And I think that with what I know how to do at this point, I came to this forum in order to learn what more I can do. Because when I do what my mother did, when I turned from 7th grade, she figured, oh, you're doing good in school, and left me by the wayside to fend for myself. And Boston Public Schools didn't do me the justice that I think I deserve. I had a child at the age of 15. I went to Boston Academy and sat in the guidance counselor's office, and without my mother there, trying to convince me to go to a teen mother program to get me out of the door. So I've been fighting for education since I was 15 years old.
All right.
And I sit here because I do want to make a change, but I just don't feel like I'm somewhat satisfied, and that's why I didn't go to the middle. But don't get me wrong, my son will stay in Boston Public Schools because I do pay taxes, and I'm not going to pay $20,000 a year.
That's right. You're already paying for an education. We're going to keep taking these comments. We're going to go here, and then we have some gentlemen over here, and we'll come back to this lady here. But what I would like to do is we would like to get to some solutions, what people would like to see done. What is it that you can do? Where can you give of yourself? Okay? If we can start heading in that direction. We're going to start right here.
My name is Roxbury, and I tried Boston Public School System. I have a son who went to the Mather. I wasn't having it. First he went to strike during the so they got rid of that. I went to the Mather first grade. I wasn't happy after first grade was over. I know what I knew when I was in elementary school, and he didn't have that much information. I left there to go to magnet school. He went to the humanities. That was too much. That's when I decided to send him to parochial school. And parochial school is not the way out, but now it works. He does get the Asian experience. He gets the white experience. He learns everything. I'm very involved in his education, and I want to be over there as well. I can't be over there as well because for me, I can only work to go over there with future kids who I'm going to send to the Boston Public School System. Or send him there when he gets to that point. I want to make a plea to people on that side, the ones with no kids, because they have to work with us in order to make the Boston Public School better. Because I'm not a product of the Boston Public School System. I was in Metro. I was in Reading. I know the experience my friends had at Boston Public School System. I don't want my child to go through that. I don't want him being a
Thank you. Over here, gentleman right here in the hat.
My name is Lafayette Jefferson. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm now grateful for my parents. I've always been grateful for them, but what I'm saying is the way they chose to educate. I've never been to an institution where I was a minority, from kindergarten all the way up to college. And when those instances did occur where it looked like I was going to go to a white school, regardless of what level it was on, my parents found a way, even if it took moving to another state to find a black school with good quality teachers that could teach me whatever I need. And how to start something like that here in Boston, I don't know. But I know for me, when I have kids, that I want to follow what my parents did. My father used to say he tried to raise kids with the field nigger mentality. My mother said, no, you're going to have enough time in your life to deal with white people, so right now, as long as we can keep you away from them, that's all right. And so, if Boston can't provide that environment, which as long as I'm here, I will try to create that environment. The lady I'm going to marry is a school teacher right now, working for Mr. McGuire. But if it doesn't change here in Boston, I know for myself and for her, we'll be moving back down south to where black schools are and where they're all black teachers and black school administrators.
Okay, thank you. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's another misconception. But we'll get to that. I'm coming over there. I see you, sister, but he had his hand up first, right here.